is up, everybody? And Steve, how are you doing, bud?
What's up? I'm doing good.
How's your week going so far?
Well, Tuesday and Wednesday are my Saturday and Sunday, so
Oh,
far I haven't had to work, so it's been good. But I had a super busy day today, just all over the place doing different things, house related, sports card related,
okay.
a little bit of everything. Even actually, the first part of my morning, I shot on my as video as so I shot half of a video today. And that was kind of
Look
just
at you getting videos.
yeah, well, it's just personal. It was just my straight up experience with the card. So I just figured, like I said, I was doing sports card stuff today. Closed a deal on Instagram last night. Had to go to the post office this morning, so I talked about that and picked up another package that was a card I got from the Philly show that I dropped off at grading. There's a big, long nightmare story about that. I mean, in the end, it's fine, but um, yeah, I accidentally put the wrong address on my Beckett
Oh, that's
submission
right.
form,
Yeah, you told me about that.
and it wasn't even my old house, so it wasn't like it could have went there and got forwarded. I just actually accidentally wrote my street number backwards.
Are you dyslexic?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, my street number is 102, and I accidentally wrote 120.
Wow.
And then I thought when FedEx contacted me and was like, we can't deliver this. This address doesn't even exist. Then I was pissed. I was like, Beckett, I can't believe Beckett screwed up my address. I sent it to the wrong place. And then when I went back and looked at my submission forms, I'd taken a picture and a video of it. I was like,
You
oh,
had a
man.
whole like 5-part series about how Beckett's terrible, and then
Oh,
realized it
no.
was you.
Yeah, I was like, man, yeah, I was ready to go all in. And I was like, damn, I was like, that was my fault. So I just make a video talking about how I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
So
Well, it happens, man. It happens. I think the good thing is there wasn't another house. Like, what if it went to someone's house and then
I
they were a jerk about it? Like, nope,
that was
that's mine
that.
now.
Yeah, that was the lucky thing. That was the kind of like, okay, at least it went to a non-destination, and FedEx was like, hey, this address doesn't exist, so you need to reroute this package. But the crazy thing is, FedEx contacts me personally, a person, but then when I call them back, I can't get a person on the phone. And then when I reroute the package, they tell me that um, I have to take it to one of their drop locations. I can't reroute it to an actual residential address. Only the sender can do that. So the Beckett would have had to do that. So then it gets rerouted to a pharmacy here in town that's a drop location. But then the pharmacy requires me to have an ID that matches the name and the address on the package. So I'm in the pharmacy like, the address on the package isn't going to match the address on my ID because that's the whole reason why I'm coming here to pick the package up.
Oh,
But I
wow.
had printed out my Beckett invoices and I had the tracking number. I even had my video clip from Philly when I was filling out the invoice
That was
at the
smart.
show. So
Yeah.
so they didn't really give me a hard time. They let me sign for it.
Nice. Okay. I had some internet issues earlier, Steve. So if I like drop off, if I do the weird like spinny thing, I'll be back on in just like 10-second delay. Let's say hello to
Okay.
some of the folks in here. Vintage Card Collector, what's going on? Inglorious, I feel like I haven't seen you in the chat in a while. Inglorious P, good to see you. Brendan Ryan,
I've
good
seen
to
him.
see you. What's that?
I think I've seen Inglorious around a little bit. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I just wasn't paying good enough attention.
Yeah,
LT,
you never pay
what's going
attention
on?
to the comments.
Yeah, I do my best. Well, I
This is the
usually
only
just like,
time. This is the only
yeah,
time during the stream that you pay
yeah.
attention to the comments.
Get your comments in now on the beginning of the stream because halfway through I'm completely useless. LT, I'm going to sound like a lame-o, but I have not even been watching college basketball. I just had a million other things going on, and I have not been watching it. Steve, do you have a pick for the Final Four?
I don't honestly. I don't even know who's there. I don't follow a lot of college basketball. Usually, sometimes I'll do a bracket just for fun because everybody at work does brackets, and I even missed that this year. So I've seen some games as they're on because they play in the casino, but usually I have to like ask who's the. You can look at the seedings and be like who's the better team, but um, I don't really know who is good, who's underrated, who's not. I know that Miami was playing good, and I saw UConn blow out Gonzaga. I saw Gonzaga beat UCLA at the buzzer. So, I mean, I see a lot of that stuff just because it's playing while I'm at work.
Oh, okay. Yeah, usually I watch some of it. Usually I fill out a bracket, and I just didn't do anything this year. I don't know what happened. It just kind of slipped through the radar. But
Mhm.
it's over for me now. It's to next year. We're looking at next year. I'm so focused on my New Orleans Saints. It's like tunnel vision right now. We got
don't you just pick UNC and UNC Charlotte to win it every year?
Pretty much. Yeah. Well, which team like came out of nowhere? Was it FAU where like the coach was like, I almost didn't even take this job, and now they're in like the
Is that Florida Atlantic?
Yeah.
I know that team is doing well too.
Yeah. Bush Leaguers Brad retired from cards back in December. We did a big like announcement type stream. It was on his channel though. So we used to do it back and forth where it was like my channel, then his channel. And then he stopped making content like summer of last year. And so he asked if we could just do off-centered on his channel. And then when he retired from cards, he was like, hey dude, off-centered, all you, good luck. You got this. So came back to my channel and here we are. But yeah, I talked to him just the other day. He's doing good.
Honestly, the real story behind that is that Dustin just got tired of Brad and was like, hey, man, this just ain't working. I need to get somebody on here with more talent. Now, that's obviously not me because Dustin replaced me Monday night with another another middle-aged bald guy. So
we got running auditions.
He's got a thing for middle-aged bald guys, but unfortunately, it's not me anymore.
Am I like the Kelly Ripa? I've got like Michael Strahan, then I've got like, Kelly Ripa goes through like 20 different hosts.
Yeah, I'm taking auditions. I'm going to start a live stream called Perfectly Within. I'm going to start a live stream called Perfectly Within, and I need somebody to nobody would even, if I did that, nobody would even want to join me. They would be like, hell no. So
Steve's stream is called Perfectly Centered, Off-Centered Sucks.
Perfectly Within.
OC Sucks. Yeah. So yeah, Brad is still around. He's doing fine. I talked to him on occasion. All good. Brad's doing his Brad thing, hinging and doing all that stuff. So he's fine. He is fine. Michael Stone, good to see you. Bob Boozle, he wants the real, not the fake content, bruh. Off-centered, honestly, if it was scripted, it would be pretty horrible. This is obviously not scripted because we're all over the place.
Yeah, so what happened a minute before we went live? You were like, so Steve, what do you want to talk about tonight? Yeah. I don't know what we're going to talk about. And
usually we'll have like 3 subjects or something. Tonight it was just like, we'll just go with it.
Hey, but it's always best to just interact with the people in the comments because they're here to watch and interact. So a lot of times, if you just let them, you can let them control the narratives of what we talk about.
You guys control the narrative. We are wide open tonight. It is open mic night. So just let us know what's on your mind. And you won't see any fake deals on Off-Centered tonight, Bob Boozle. So don't you worry. Don't you worry. Brad has gone off to other adventures. Yes. That's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it. And he's definitely taking a leak every 60 minutes. You nailed that, Rick. Philly Joe, what's going on? Sports Stuff 247. What's up? Okay, UConn's the heavy favorite. San Diego State didn't even realize that they were good, to be honest. Are they out of nowhere? What seed were they coming in?
When I think of San Diego State, I instantly think of Marshall Faulk. Is that correct?
I thought did LaDainian Tomlinson go to
He went to TCU, I think.
Oh, TCU. Yeah, Marshall Faulk went to San Diego State.
Yeah.
3 first-time Final Four teams. That's awesome. That is really awesome. Afternoon down under, Dan the Card Man. That's the best Aussie accent I can come up with. So let's put another shrimp on the barbie. All right. Now all the Aussies hate me. They're like, idiot. Fewer actors, more middle-aged bald guys. No more male models is basically what Bob Boozle is getting at here. You don't have to worry. There's no male models on this show. Perfectly altered. Yeah. I don't know. It might get a little hazy if you go with like trimmed. Yeah, like if you start going trimmed, then people might get upset about it. Who knows?
Hey, I trimmed my beard before we went live. Is that all right?
Steve looking like the kingpin.
Now it's center.
Goatee. I chew big red gum. Good to know. Kawhi went to San Diego State. What's up, Dexflow? Any new graded action figures in your world? Dexflow's got like unbelievable Transformers in the box type stuff. He's got the real stuff. Yeah, Kawhi Leonard. Fair enough. Yeah. Shrimp on the bobby for Dan. Are you allowed to buy cards again? Good question, JG. Good question. Truth is, I've been buying cards kind of all along, but it's all been pretty much planned out. So very transparent with all of the buying. And we had a lot of kind of big family bills that were all due up here, like last month, this month, next month. And we're getting through the end of that. So it will open up again here. But yeah, I mean, basically it's just going to be a tighter budget. That's really what it boils down to. So yes, I have always been allowed to buy them. It's just been more of like accountability partner, making sure that like a little bit more oversight. That's it. And frankly, I'm all good with that. Dan, let's talk about the National. What are you most looking forward to? What will the buying selling market be like? Yeah, I think the National is going to be really interesting. I think it's going to be extremely busy. Steve would probably agree with me. Like hotels were booked way in advance. The last time we went to Chicago 2 years ago, I booked my hotel early in February, and that was early in February. And I mean, like February, everything was pretty much gone. So the thing I'm looking forward to the most would be hanging out with the people, hanging out with Steve, hanging out with other folks, new people, meeting new people. That's always a good time. I think, as far as buying and selling goes, I really look at summertime as being like, as a whole, being a good buying opportunity, just summertime, especially with all the like big picture macroeconomic stuff still up in the air. I think it's going to be a really busy show, but I don't know. What are you thinking for buying and selling, Steve? Do you think it's going to be different than years past?
No, I think it'd be very similar to last year. For myself personally, I've been I was stocking up a while, quite a bit on young quarterbacks that I was hoping to move at the National. And honestly, like this past week, I've actually moved off of a couple of those because young quarterbacks are already buzzy. It's the ones that I was buying. I mean,
Yeah.
I've done well already this week off of Jordan Love. I had bought like six nice Jordan Love cards, and I've already moved four of them because the offers I was getting on them just was like, okay, maybe I can hold to the National and squeeze out a little bit more if something is definitive as far as who's starting for the Packers by then. Um, but man, there was like, I got a deal today on a card that I had picked up for 1K, and I moved it for like 1,600. So actually, I made 600. I picked it up for 900 and sold it for 15 on Instagram. Mailed that out this morning. That was actually part of the video that I was shooting this morning, was
Yeah.
me mailing that card out. So I was just kind of like, to make a $600 flip on a Jordan Love card that I bought back in the first week of the playoffs. I
Yeah.
just was like, man, I just want to jump on this now because you don't know what's going to happen with him. And a couple of his other cards that I had picked up for like the $300 range, and I sold them for 400, like three of those. So I made $100 a piece on each of those. So now it's kind of like, I don't know what I'm going to take to move. Now for me, as far as buying goes, the National is probably going to be big for me because if you guys watched my other video the other day, a lot of the stuff I want to buy in person. Like I went through the thrill of the hunt and seeing the cards that I want to buy and holding them and looking at them, especially because I'm steering towards vintage cards.
Yeah.
And it's been, I don't know, I don't want to say boring, but usually every night I search eBay and I look for stuff and I look for good deals and I'll bid and I'll buy. And like the last two nights, I've just been kind of like not even messing on eBay or my slabs or anything because I'm like, everything that I want to buy in person. And if I go and pull the trigger on a buy it now or an auction on eBay, now, if the auction is the right price, it'll make sense. But to pull a trigger on a buy it now on eBay right now is would be kind of contradicting everything that I talked about the other day. So it's like, um, the stuff that I want to buy in person, but I
Yeah.
want to buy cards. So that's what sucks is because I want to buy cards, but I can't get out to the locations to buy them. Um,
Do you get the
so
feeling like, so if we go back in years past, do you feel like some of the money that was in like basketball prospecting going like just because that's been popular over the last few years, do you think that some of that money or a lot of that money has moved into like young quarterbacks or just other stuff? Because I feel like, and I could be totally wrong.
yeah,
I'm not following the basketball market. Like I don't know what's going on with kind of like the are people, I guess my question is, are people buying into, NBA players where it's like they think their team's going to win the title or, like, are they buying Giannis and Giannis is not a good example because he already has a title, but, you know, um, Luca, not really, because they might not even make the playoffs, but just some of these young guys where they're, contenders, the Joker, are people buying into the Joker in case he wins a title, or is it more, do you think it's shifted over like to other things like young quarterbacks or something else?
I don't think that the things happening in the basketball season or during the basketball season move the needle as much as things that happen during the football season. Like when a quarterback makes a deep run into the playoffs, I feel like their cards, and it may not be big, but I feel like their cards get more buzzy than, say, a basketball player that's making a playoff run. I don't know why that is. I think that, just like with baseball, the basketball season is long. You can, the beginning is exciting, and then you kind of lose interest towards the middle, and then the playoffs come back around. Well, while you're losing interest in the middle, what is it that you're interested in? What's going on during that time frame? You got NFL free agency, you got the NFL draft, so that stuff is causing buzz for the NFL passively. Even though the NFL is still months away, there's stuff going on right now that have people's attention. Case in point, I just moved Jordan Love cards for almost $1,000 profit just around the situation with Aaron Rodgers. So. Yeah. I believe with basketball, there's such big gaps between the news, and we all know news is what moves cards, news and hype, not necessarily performance. So I think there's a lot more gaps between the excitement. And I could be wrong, but that's just the feeling that I get. And I feel like people will be dabbling in NFL, more often than NBA just because of the excitement that it gets generated.
Dexflow saying, great promo on your channel a couple weeks ago.
I don't know which one that was. Did I do a promo?
Which one are you talking about, Dex? CV Sports, what's going on? The dealers are tightwads. Yeah, I'm sure it's probably, I'm sure every show's got tightwad dealers, and then there's probably some that you can work with. Historically, vintage prices are at all-time high on most cards, with a lot of FOMO thinking juicing up prices unless you pick your spots very carefully. In a couple of years, you could be underwater. This is kind of and that's a narrative too, is that I think a lot of people have been talking about that low-grade vintage. Did a lot of people kind of move into that space out of prospecting just to be a little bit more safe over the last couple of years? Is that where some of that money went? Because you're right. I mean, there are a lot of high-priced vintage stuff. But I think it does depend on, like what PMN is saying here, picking your spots. I mean, you bought that 51 Bowman Maze. If you compare across all the pricing, the eye appeal, I mean, yeah, you might be. I mean, we talked about this for 3 hours before you bought it. I mean, like, you might be underwater on that, but how much underwater could you really be just at the price point and everything? And it's like, that's just such an all-time card. So
right. And the thing with vintage, and I've had a lot of people reach out to me because they know that I'm getting into vintage now. So they're reaching out, with advice and saying, hey, vintage is high right now. So be careful. You may be able to get better deals, in a couple months or in a year. Even Mike, baseball card collector, when he was on a couple weeks ago, had mentioned that to me. And I believe that that's correct. I believe it doesn't apply to every player. I feel like pop counts on a lot of vintage stuff is high. It's not that it's not on high grades. Don't get me wrong. But I mean, there's a lot of
total pop count.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there graded. So if you're buying low grades, there's going to be a lot of cards, graded higher. They're going to cost more money the higher the grade gets, of course. But I was looking at like Hank Aaron, and I was looking at Sandy Koufax and some of their rookies, and there's a lot of that stuff out there graded in the total pop count overall. So, if vintage was to take a hit, it would be those cards first, I believe, just because there's a lot of them. And that's just looking with me. That's just looking across PSA. That's not even looking at SGC. That does have a lot to do in the vintage market. So total pop counts, not so much BVG from what I've noticed, but I feel like with the Willie Mays, that is the kind of card that I think that's kind of at a basement. It doesn't seem like there's tons of them out there. And even the low grades, if you're looking at low grade Willie Mays Bowmans, it's hard to find a low grade with good eye appeal because a lot of them really look like they just have been put through the washer and dryer, multiple trashed. And
we talked about that too. That's a card that people sock away. Like if they're going to sell some of their vintage, that might be the last one that they sell or one of the last ones. They might get rid of some of the other Hall of Famers, some of the other, cool stuff. But that Willie Mays rookie at 51 Bowman, probably not going to be high on the list to move if they need to sell stuff.
Yeah, like I've been looking at, I want to buy a nice Frank Robinson rookie because I'm an Orioles fan, and I believe he's undervalued for everything that he's done for baseball, not what he did as a player, but also what he did as a manager. And so, but I think he's the type of player that he's one of those players. He doesn't get the respect that he deserves, in my opinion. But he's also the type of player that he's a rising tides player. You know what I mean? Like when we saw everybody going up in value because the top 5 players in history were going up. So it was dragging up everything because people had to buy the next thing that they could get. I think he falls into that category to where he will fluctuate with the market big time. But I think some players are, in a situation where they're just kind of where they're at. And the market's not going to let them fall below a certain price.
What is the best way to contact you? Question about the National from Philly Joe.
It's easy to contact me on Instagram if you have Instagram. Other than that, I'm not sure. I don't do Twitter.
Yeah, reach out to Steve on Instagram. That's easy.
Yeah, I usually respond to anybody who messaged me on Instagram. I try to.
Collector's Dream, what's going on? LT, I really want to come to the show. Is that going to be, so the National is like end of July, 1st of August. How soon after the National is Anaheim? Because if it's like middle to end of August, I might be able to pull it off. I really do want to come to that Burbank show in Anaheim, the big one. I think it'd just be awesome. It's far to go. I mean, I'm on the complete East Coast in North Carolina, but I was contemplating going to the industry summit. But instead of that, I might just go to this Burbank Anaheim show. I'm still trying to figure it out, but maybe, I don't know. Steve, are you interested in that? Possibly. Like, what's your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I want to go to any California show. I want to go to California, period, just to go to California. And if I catch a show while I'm out there, if I was to say, hey, I'm going on vacation to California, I would definitely schedule it around a show so I could hit that show for a day or something. The only time I almost ever went to Anaheim was back in the day when I was like a gamer, like, I wouldn't say I was a gamer, but I used to play what's it called? World of Warcraft. I used to play that years ago, and they have like a thing called BlizzCon every year, and I almost went to a BlizzCon in like Anaheim once, but yeah, I don't play that. I don't play like video games or anything anymore, so. Yeah.
Bob has a very sound national strategy. Drink hard night 1, sleep in the hotel the whole time, go home empty-handed, tell wife I was robbed. I'm going to have my wife with me at the National, so it's going to be tricky for me to pull that off. But
that's almost what Charles Fuchs did last year. I just don't know if he's got a wife or not.
Yeah.
But you're almost describing Charles Fuchs National last year.
If Charles has a wife, God bless that woman. Hard Jimba is saying that you got one over on the Jordan Love buyer. Well, if Jordan Love works out, who knows? Maybe that's a more expensive card.
Yeah, it's a nice card. I mean, it's the kind of card that if you compare it to the Joe Burrows and the Justin Herberts and stuff, if you're messing in modern, it's the kind of card that you can be like, hey, I see the potential that this type of card can have. And somebody's willing to take a risk on it. So, I wasn't willing to give up $600 profit for risk. That was a little bit more, over a 50% return.
Well, especially because Rodgers is like, what's he doing? And who knows? I mean, who the hell knows? I think you probably did the right thing there.
And I'm looking at the stuff that I want to buy now, like these vintage baseball rookies and even some football. And I'm like, okay, now I've gotten $1,000 more freed up with $600 on top of it. Now what kind of damage can I do towards something else that I want?
JG, my guess here is going to be T-Law, and here's why. I'm just going to go out on a limb. I think the Jaguars are going to get him a really fancy weapon in the draft, maybe in free agency, but I think they're going to get some sort of prolific receiver.
They do. They got Calvin Ridley.
Oh, they got Calvin Ridley coming. I wouldn't say
Calvin Ridley from Atlanta. I mean, Calvin Ridley was the number 1. He was a pretty good receiver until he got busted for gambling.
Well, we'll see. I guess, we'll see what he turns out to be.
When you throw him in the mix with Evan Ingram, I think, who they get franchised, you throw him in the mix with Christian Kirk, who they gave a huge contract to last year, and then Zay Jones, who played really good football.
Who's
Who
their
was it?
running back?
Travis Etienne, who was first round draft
Oh,
pick.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Never
So
mind. I guess he's got some.
yeah,
Okay.
I feel like that offense is going to be pretty beefy. If the offensive line is good, it
Or
doesn't
maybe they
matter.
get him a juicy O lineman, and then it's like, oh,
Yeah,
they're
that's the
complete.
thing.
They're complete. Now they've got the
Yeah.
lineman. So I'm going to guess out of all these four, only because I think that Hurts, Mahomes, Burrow are already going to have. I think they're already really expensive anyway,
Mhm.
and they're already going to have kind of some hype anyway. I don't know. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, I think Trevor Lawrence will probably be the most hyped or the most the name that you hear all the time because he's the newer of the bunch. I mean, you can only hear Mahomes and Burrow so much before they're just kind of like tapped out, right? And you're going to hear them. So T Law is going to be the name that's added into that mix that's going to get talked about a lot. And plus, his prices are a little bit lower. He'll be the person that people are trying to like gamble on a little bit more. But the AFC is just loaded. I mean, you have Hurts. The Eagles, could you argue the Eagles could have another chance to go back to the Super Bowl? Possibly. But if you look in the AFC, there's a whole bunch of teams that you're like, could be like, hey, man, any one of these teams can finally.
Yeah, I'm not speculating on QBs right now, but I would be thinking which guy can break out in the NFC, because the AFC is already full of guys that, I mean, like it's going to be a bloodbath, the AFC, like you said. So yes, Jalen Hurts, obviously he was just in the Super Bowl, so he would be an obvious choice, but you look at teams, it's tough to go back to the Super Bowl, especially this, that next season. So chances are, I'm not saying that Hurts won't have a good year, but it's probably going to be somebody else from the NFC in the Super Bowl. So, it's kind of like which guys in the NFC have a chance to, break out other than Derek Carr. All right.
I think Trey Lance will be buzzy again. Now, Trey Lance was buzzy last year, like he was probably the Trevor Lawrence that we're going to see this year of last year.
Did you hear though that they're going to go? You hear though that they're going to go with Purdy?
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's what they're saying now. You still have to have
you need Trey Lance to get moved to an NFC to another team. Like there's
just too much draft capital invested in him for him to not get a chance somewhere. Whether that chance means he plays good or not, I don't know. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take you don't have to wait for him to play, right? If he was to get traded, boom, all of a sudden people will be speculating.
This is the problem when you're a 49ers. When you're the 49ers and you give Garoppolo a big contract and then you draft Trey Lance number 2, I think they traded up to get it or something. And then Mr. Irrelevant turns out to be your starter, Brock Purdy. Yeah, I mean, it's like, who could have drawn that up?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm still not I'm not a Brock Purdy truther. I think he's a
really.
I think he's a product of the system.
I think he's legit. I mean, I don't know if he would. I agree. I mean, he played on arguably the best overall team in the 49ers, one of them for sure. So yeah, I
mean, their offensive line is just they have weapons, and then they have an amazing offensive line. And the first time that he had a little bit of pressure and he got beat up a little bit, he was knocked out of the NFC Championship by the Eagles. So it's like,
just unlucky though. I mean, it was an unlucky break. First drive of the game, and he's out. I mean, that's
but that goes to question. And I don't know, but I mean, taking an injury in the amount of games that he played, will he have durability issues? We know Trey Lance has durability issues, so I'm not trying to say it's any worse than the situation they already have. I'm just saying, will he have durability issues? But I don't know.
I'm not sure if Jason meant cards should be handled with tongs, but he put thongs, which I'm not going to argue that. I mean, let's get thongs in the mix. I get it. Had to send my card handler home early because he had a dirty glove. Hobby Champs, news on the street is Dustin and Steve are going to have influencer cards in 2023 wild card basketball. Can you confirm? I would be ecstatic to have a wild card. That takes me back to what were we chasing like early 90s? Was it Brett Favre had like a wild card rookie card or something?
Yeah, Brett Favre did.
Pretty sure he did. I would
have been the 91 class, which
and
was
also
really
the best part of something like this, having an influencer card, would just be watching a video of like a box break or just like someone opening a box and then getting our card or my card and being like, who the hell is this? And just like throwing it to the side. I think that would be hilarious.
I'm not an influencer, so I'm not going to have a card.
I also heard that
I'm not an influencer.
Another content creator sent me a video yesterday that I'm getting divorced. I did not realize it until I got this video. You have made it when other content creators are making videos about you.
Can I be the best man at your divorce?
Yeah. I love it, man. You've made it when other people, hey, and fair enough. Probably fishing for a reaction video, but you're not, good try.
This is what we've limited our reaction to this.
Yeah, we're reacting to the reaction. The reaction. Anyway, going back to the cards, I would love to have some sort of influencer card, but not because I think that I'm some sort of a badass. It'd just be funny. It would be really like a huge joke. But wild card brand, absolutely. I have some huge nostalgia with wild card stuff.
I don't think I would want a card, man. I would feel weird.
It's so weird, but it would be so hilarious.
I feel weird when people approach me at a show to shake my hand. Not because I feel weird talking to them, because I stop and talk to everybody to the point to where they almost want to talk away from me because I start talking, or walk away from me because I start talking their ear.
They're like, actually, I just wanted to say hi.
Yeah, they're like, I just want to say hi. Now Steve's talking to me for like 30 minutes, and that's how but I just don't understand it. Like, I feel like I'm just somebody from the comments. That's the way I look at myself. I don't. I'm just one of the guys. You know what I mean? Like, it's still.
Actually, no, you are Flipping Steve. My kids call you Flipping Steve. They don't call you Steve. They call you Flipping Steve. Actually, my youngest was watching one of your videos the other day. He walked in and I was watching your video and he's like, "Oh, hey, it's Flipping Steve."
I hope I didn't cuss.
No,
he doesn't. I cuss in my videos sometimes.
He can handle. All right. They're not babies. They can handle it. All right, let's see if I can find, if you see anything juicy here. I'm at 9:16 on the comments. I'm about 16 minutes behind. Let's see what we've got.
You're getting smoked by the comments.
What makes one rookie card better than another of the same player? Oh my gosh, this is such an open-ended question. Do you want to try to answer this, or
what makes one rookie card better than another of the same player? So, I mean, you mean like what, value-wise, or better what you like yourself? I mean, is this question just directed towards market value? Because what makes it better, demand.
Stratman, throw in some more details on this, and we'll try to talk about it.
I mean, if I was to attack this, I would say demand. But then, what creates demand for that card? So, a premium card, if it's an autograph or an RPA, you want it to be game used. You want it to be on card, serial numbered. What products are going to give you that? Nice card stock, a classy look. Things like that. It's National Treasures. It's flawless when it comes to the Panini stuff. Immaculate's in there. And Topps, I don't really know because I don't do a lot of modern baseball. But the Bowman first autos for the rookies, of course, is super popular. I know that much. So it's just kind of what the market goes after. And not one single person is going to be able to answer that question because everybody thinks differently. So you're going to have to ask the majority of the market, why do you buy this card? And probably one day, way back in the day, somebody was like, National Treasures is the best. And then everybody was like, oh, yeah, it is. Oh, yeah, it is. Oh, yeah, it is. And it just snowballed into National Treasures being the card that everybody wanted. With that being said, there's a very limited demographic of people who can afford those. I did a video a couple weeks ago where I talked about sets that I liked that I felt like were really nice cards, like I just described, good card stock, good images, game used patches, autographs, serial numbered, but they're not the top 2-3 tier that you're talking about. And that's where I find my value at on sets like that.
Hey, keep talking, Steve. I'm just going to grab
something. I can't. I'm all out. I can't even breathe. Baby D, 2,000 bootleg snacks. Does anybody even know what that reference is to? But anyway, I want to drink. But yeah, that's just kind of it. I myself, I don't buy National Treasures rookies and flawless rookies because they're more than I really want to risk. I will say in football, playoff contenders ticket is a good place to start just because it's old school. 1998 playoff contenders tickets were the first autograph ticket rookie or the first autograph football rookies. So unless you're going way back to like 92 Pro Line or something like that, but it was the first like legit, the 98 Randy Moss, Peyton Manning playoff on card ticket autos. So Contenders has held that longevity from 1998 just because they were kind of the original. So they're still popular now, but not as much as. And also, I guess the price of the product could be something you take
Yeah.
into account. If you're buying a case or a box for a certain price, then probably what's in it is going to be considered to be valued more. But that works backwards too. Some of that stuff is so expensive because the people have decided that that's what they're going to spend their money on. So
yeah, scarcity, and Michael kind of nails it. Part has to do with perception, narrative.
it's a
Narrative
lot of
drives
perception.
it's like narrative, perception, scarcity. All
Right.
wrap all those things up in a bow. I got to show this to Dex. I got to show something to Dex. Oh, Crazy
Crazy
Daisy.
Daisy. Hey,
Crazy
Crazy
Daisy.
Daisy.
What's up, Steve Splenda? Not Sweet and Low, only Splenda around here. What's going on? Dex, thoughts on Slew? So Dex sent me this. This is going early. This is some nostalgia for me. This is like right when I started my channel, maybe like 6 months in, and I was talking about starting lineups. Dex sent me a gigantic box that had 3 of these in here. They're graded. They're
Is that Michael Jack Ham?
Yeah, it's Jack Lambert.
Oh,
yeah.
Lambert.
Yeah,
right.
But they're graded. It's not a starting lineup, but it's McFarland Sports Picks from 2008. He sent me a few of these. I remember it was I think this was the first package I ever got from a viewer. I thought there was a body in this pack. I mean, it was huge and it weighed like 60 pounds. So shout out to Dex. You're the man. I'm glad you're still here. You're still here years later. High grade screws are sleepers right now. I mean, especially when you think about like long term. A lot of people are like, they'll reach out to me about starting lineups, but I really look at that stuff long term. If you're going to hold it for a long time, yeah. If you're looking at price point now, compared to what down the road, I like, and you have a lot. Dex has a lot of the graded action figures, the rare Transformers, and that sort of stuff. I love all that stuff long term. Love it. All right, let's keep
Crazy
going.
Daisy down before she falls asleep.
Daisy's the best.
Over there.
Daisy,
she's pretty chill.
Yeah, she's awesome. She's like what I want Spritz to be all the time. That's my dog. Spritz is 60 pounds and Daisy's like 12. Time usually fixes being underwater in some cards, good cards. That is all card. Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a lot of cards that just won't increase in price. But yeah, when we're talking about, a lot of the stuff we're talking about, absolutely agree with that. Michael Stone agrees with you about Frank Robinson, only player to ever win an MVP in both leagues.
That was a long time ago, man, Dustin. Well, yeah, it was a long time ago that he won those, but where are we at? What time is that comment at?
Oh, I'm at 922 now. Steve Splend at 922. I almost
we're at 937.
Chip Shawana. I'm taking my time. Almost did a deal in Chip Shawana for a 56 Clemente, but Neo wasn't next to me to vlog the staged deal. Those fake deals. Watch yourself.
Neo told me that he was vlogging a staged deal for you.
Yeah.
Or he mentioned it on a live stream the other night in the comments.
Well, it's like what we talked about last time. Stage deals different than fake deals. If it's a staged fake deal,
I guess so.
That's what we have a problem with. Dude, if you have a stage deal where it's like, hey, I'm getting we want to create drama around this transaction, totally fine with that. The problem is when you create a staged thing and it's like, ooh, this was $10,000, but then you didn't actually buy it. There wasn't actually a transaction. That's what we were talking about.
Remember when I sold you the Joe Namath auto patch?
Yes.
But I sold it to you ahead of time. on Instagram, and then you were just like, hey, I'll pay you for it in Atlanta because we were both going to be in Atlanta. But I don't think we filmed it or anything, but I mean, I guess.
Yeah, but it'd be the same thing. If we did.
Right. That would have been a legit transaction. It just would have been, held off to be for content, for entertainment purposes.
Think of all the views we could have gotten if we were going back and forth. If I was yelling at you like, Steve, you're being such an ass. You said 350. You said 350, and now you're going back on it. We'll do that next time.
But we both know that you don't talk during negotiations.
Yeah,
you just stand there and stare.
There's been a whole video of me just staring at you blankly.
You just stand there and stare. I remember that first card show in Dallas when was it a Devin Booker you wanted?
Yeah.
And you just did the blank stare.
Well, if you don't say anything, then the other person gets really uncomfortable because they're like, is this person a serial killer? It gets a little bit creepy. But it's actually pretty useful. I'm not saying that I got like an amazing deal because of that, but I got the deal that I was looking for at the time. So all good. All the Frank Robinson folks are in the chat. Yes. Collector's Dream agrees. All right, they're talking to each other here. Man,
I didn't like the Stan Musial card that I was talking about, and then I've kind of just been like, oh, I want a Ted Williams play ball. I want a Jim Brown tops. I want.
That's a rabbit hole. Vintage
Yeah.
baseball.
I mean, I don't mind the fact that it's a rabbit hole because I am enjoying it. You know, it sucks if it's a rabbit hole that can lead to negative or bad stuff, but
So
you know,
card vibe. This is funny because I know this is not what you meant to write, but Sam Darnold is a low risk with a possible, I think you meant to say decent reward, like upside, but it reads descent with a possible descent. So it's low risk with a possible descent reward. Anyway, yes.
you can spell decent like that, right?
There's no S in there. You take the S out and you got decent.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, descent. But hey, you know what though? This is a good point. This could be a backup quarterback. Sam Darnold rejuvenates his career. Baker Mayfield down in Tampa. What if Baker Mayfield does something in Tampa? I mean, the NFC South is not very good.
I got a couple Van Halen cards in the mail. I got the smash hit sticker and a PSA 8. This is the highest graded by PSA, because then I got an SGC and an 8.5. This is the highest graded across all grading companies.
Wow. Did you just grade that yourself or you buy it graded?
I bought it graded. I have a whole lot of these raw, but because I got a good price on them, I was like, by the time I send them in and get grading fees, I've only ever submitted one myself, and it got a 4. And that was a long time ago when I was the first person to have one in population. Because I know you've talked about in a recent video about pop culture, or whatever you want to call it. I like calling it music and rock and roll cards, but I guess if you want to group it in pop culture, about how people say, oh, it's low pop. But yeah, the point is it's not necessarily a rare item as much as it is people just aren't submitting them. But they're not easy to grade, any of them, like the stickers for sure. Yeah. Now, some of the stickers are hard to find in raw copies, like the 68, 69 Panini Cantantes and 72s. They're not high pop graded, and it's not even like you can go on eBay and find them to buy them to submit them. Once you get up to 85 and the smash hits and the 95s and stuff like that, you can buy those, because I have about 8 Van Halen's raw and about 5 Angus Young's raw. But the other ones, like I buy like the Who and Pink Floyd and Rolling Stones, Jimi Hendrix, like that stuff, you don't find those raw. They're just really tough.
So, number one card you're each targeting at the National. I don't have a specific target right this second, but some cards that I do want. Well, so first off, vintage football. I did get the Bart Starr rookie card, the 57 top star rookie. That was really my target for 2023. That was the one card this year that I was going to get it one way or the other. I was going to find a good copy and get it. And so I was able to pull that off a couple of months ago. But there's other stuff like Joe Namath rookie. There's other vintage football that I would like to add. Other cards that I would like to add too. I'm not in a huge hurry, but like 89 score, PSA 10, Barry Sanders, Deion Sanders, Troy Aikman. I'd like to have those in 10s. So anyway, those are some of the options, I guess, if I'm looking at the National. What about you? What are you laughing at? Do you see a comment?
Looking at the comments, like Dustin is so far behind. By the time you catch up, he'll have received his PSA order from last year. That's Bless on Break says that.
We'll get there. I promise. We'll get there. I promise.
For the National, for me, it's a lot of the cards that I just named. And who knows? I mean, the National's still a little ways away, so things could change. But a lot of the cards that I just named. So, yeah, just vintage. I'll look and I'll see what I like.
Steve's looking for vintage.
Yeah, I don't normally go to a show with a plan, although the Philly show I did. I was very focused. I was so focused at the Philly show, I missed everything else. So I couldn't even tell you if the dealers were fairly priced on other modern.
Yeah, you were locked in.
I was very locked in.
Yeah. Saints plus car equals Super Bowl. That's you sound like me, center fielder 7, but I don't know. I don't want to go that far. Usually when the Saints are favored, we do terribly. Like last year, we were kind of like a sexy Super Bowl pick preseason. Anytime we're the preseason Super Bowl pick, forget it. It's going to be a lousy year, and that's basically what happened. So I hope we fly under the radar. Hope no one thinks we're going to do anything. That's when we'll kind of show up a little bit. Retail Ripper, Baker to the moon. I assume he's talking about Baker Mayfield. Back and forth about shows. Josh Rosen. I still have a couple of those. John Williams, Josh Allen or Josh Rosen? John Williams.
Yeah. So John commented on my video the other day. What was I talking about in that video? But anyway, he commented something about Josh Allen, and then I hit him back with a comment about Josh Allen's not even the third best quarterback in that division anymore in the AFC East. Yeah. Figuring Rodgers is going to go to the Jets, So I'm like, but it was just me basically trying to dig and say that Tua was better than Josh Allen because I'm a Dolphins fan, but that would be completely wrong and just a biased opinion.
Who is coming out of the NBA West this year? Are the Nuggets going to get over the hump? Are they still number one in the West?
Man, I don't know. I don't keep up with the NBA as much as I used to, like last year and 2 years. Like I watch football nonstop. Baseball season's too long, and I'm an Orioles fan, so I get bored quick. But although they were a little bit exciting last year and they have young, exciting players, I'll watch some basketball. I work nights, so it's really hard unless I just go score checking and check the box scores. It's really tough for me to get to watch the games because of my job. So it makes me feel a little like disengaged, if that's fair. I do like to keep up to see what the people are doing, especially if I'm looking in that market for cards. But right now I'm not dabbling in basketball like at all. Like it hasn't even crossed my mind to dabble in basketball cards right now. Hall of Fame stuff. But that's because that stuff is done and finished. I don't have to look up stats every night for Larry Bird or Isaiah Thomas. You know what I mean? So that's just kind of
Charles talking smack. Charles literally won the national giveaway, and he's in here talking smack. Now,
yeah,
this is when you're staying in the same room as Steve, but Charles sleeps till noon, and Steve's like, "Hey, what are you doing?"
Yeah, but Charles didn't stay in the same room with me. He had his own room.
Oh, I thought he was in the same one with you.
No, when I do my giveaway to the national, they get their own room.
Oh, for some reason but I thought there was a switcheroo or something. Did you?
No,
did that not happen?
No, I stayed at the Showboat with you one night, and then I went over to my room at the Borgata for the next 2 nights or whatever. And Fuchs was already at the Borgata because his room was already booked. I booked his room for one extra day than I had there because he actually got to the national before me. Now this year, my national giveaway will be 3 nights. The first 2 years, it was Friday and Saturday. The reason Charles went for 3 nights last year is because all the leftover money and the travel money that goes towards my national giveaway, he wanted to use just for an extra night of accommodations. So he could go for 3 nights. So that's what ended up happening. But this year, the giveaway already has 3 nights included, plus then whatever is going to be thrown in on top.
I need to figure out how to win that thing. Steve Splendid, that's why we love you, Steve. Genuine. Got fans. Value-wise. I'm waiting for all the pretty cards to bottom out so I can buy them all. Laugh all you want now. I know it's kind of one of those things. I kind of agree with you, bless some breaks, where it's like if pretty stuff just goes to, if it just goes completely down, I wouldn't mind throwing a few bucks at some pretty stuff just for fun.
Yeah, but he just won't. There's enough people that do like him and enough buzz that is around him and enough.
Oh, you mean his stuff won't go that far down?
And I don't think it'll reach a certain place to where
he also doesn't have enough cards yet.
I mean, because, we're still looking at people feeling buzzy about Trey Lance. So then people are definitely going to feel buzzy about Brock Purdy. Just because I'm not a long-term believer in Purdy doesn't mean I won't buy Purdy cards and sell to the people that like him. A lot of times if you only think like yourself, if you're looking to flip cards, you got to think like your buyer. You can't think like yourself as a seller. You got to think, what is my buyer going to want? It might not be the same thing that I want. So,
yeah,
what are other people are going to want? What other people want is what I want to have. So that doesn't necessarily mean I have to like what I have. And I know people say you buy cards that you like. If you get stuck with them, then you add them to your collection. But I'm talking about strictly from a flipping aspect. I do buy cards that I like the vintage and the Hall of Fame stuff I was just talking about. But if I'm looking to Jordan Love, I'm not looking to hang on to Jordan Love cards, but I've flipped 4 Jordan Love cards in the past 2 weeks and done well because I had the feeling that people would want his stuff. And you could apply the same concept to somebody like Brock Purdy.
For sure. PMN pushing back a little bit on the vintage, like buying vintage now, basically. He does raise a good point. I mean, I got my Jim Brown rookie card in 2018 and it was $212 for, it was a 3, it wasn't a 6, but obviously like we're talking like 5 times what it was 5 years ago. So he's basically saying like this is not a down market for vintage.
Right.
So what are your thoughts there?
Well, I mean, I don't think we'll ever. Okay, so the days of the Jim Brown being a $300,000 card, I think, are over. Do I think it's going to hold at that $33,000 to $3,500 mark? Maybe not. Maybe it's a $2,500 card, right? I don't think it's ever a $1,000 card again. Not in that grade. We've had too much happen, and yes, the stuff could continue to go down, but there's going to be a basement that things hit, and the basement usually, almost more times than not, establishes higher than the original, the original starting point, especially on stuff that is like a Jim Brown. Now, stuff will go below its original starting point if it's a prospect that just happens to be an absolute bust, right? In this case, that's not what we're talking about. So, where is that? What is a good value on the Jim Brown card? Where does it settle? Does it go down? Does it continue to go up? I really don't know. I'm not super versed in vintage. I'm still just learning. So things like this helps me out, and it helps me think. I didn't even know that Jim Browns were at 1,000, and in 2018, because in 2018 I wasn't looking at Jim Brown or vintage cards, period.
Yeah.
So
they were way cheaper in 2018. Way. Not and I'm not a vintage expert, but just the stuff that I was buying was way less. But I do agree with you though. I think that price appreciation to some degree is kind of built in, and I don't think that it's going to be a $300 card anymore, as to what PMN is saying. But a good point regardless. So good talking point there. Oh God, is Anthony Edwards going to be the Anthony Edwards in this year's playoffs? He's had a down year, I believe, right? I just haven't heard a lot of buzz around him. Have you been?
I know Minnesota started hot, and then Karl Anthony Towns got hurt. They just kind of. I know Anthony Edwards is probably their most exciting player, but I still think Towns is such a big factor on that team. So that's just kind of, like I said, right now in basketball, especially with the young guys, I'm the wrong person to ask. And I'm not going to pretend like I'm the right person to ask just to give you an answer. So
Bless and breaks. I think that this deal you're talking about where you had sold the Baker Flawless, I think that ironically, we were just talking about Jim Brown, but I'm pretty sure that Neo moved that Baker Flawless into a Jim Brown rookie. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that that's what happened.
I know he got a Jim Brown because he has 2 Jim Browns, right? In SGC 4s.
I'm pretty sure he moved that one into the Brown.
It might have been what it was. I can't remember. I know he moved it, and I know he got a Brown, so very, very well could have been.
The Lovejoy of archaic pop culture cards. I haven't gotten him into Stranger Things yet, but have you watched the whole thing?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Well, get on board, Steve. It's the train's leaving the station, friend.
I can't buy everything, man. Like I buy so much.
No, it's like
and rock and roll stuff that
it's the buy what you love thing when it comes to culture cards. You can't people have to actually like the stuff. It's not with culture cards. You've got to be into the band, or you've got to be into the show or the movie or whatever it is. That's important. Bob coming in hot. When in doubt about which rookie card to buy, just buy all 1,000 of them. Diversify. What's up, Corey? Good to see you. The world is off-centered. Very true. Agreed.
Let's see. Where are you at?
Jay Fretless. I held slews for 30 years. I sold my toy collection. Couldn't give slews away towards the end. They did make a lot of them. And some are rare, some are not. So yeah, I get it. There hasn't been some massive price discovery on starting lineups. It hasn't happened yet. We might just have to wait 100 years instead of 30. No, I hear you. I just enjoy them though too.
I'm scrolling the comments to try to help you here.
Yeah,
I can't pull the comments up, but you're like 15. That's like 15 minutes
I'm
old.
at 9. I'm at 9:40.
See, You just got to hope the person that you're answering their comment for is still around. They might have been like, after 5 minutes, be like, screw this guy. I don't want to answer my comment. See you later, bitch.
I think they know how it goes. I think they probably know that it just takes me a little bit to get through it, but that's, just hang in there. Just hang in there.
About that.
Crawfishing. I think he's talking about Neo's deal. If Steve was a West Coast gangster, would he be known as Crippin' Steve? I like that. Oh, I'm finally getting to the collector's dream comment that you were talking about like 20 minutes ago. Doesn't serve by a tap, but he gets to this show is over. We'll see, I'm here.
Where's that one at? Shit. 941.
Brad is no longer around, so he should be called the sports card fan.
Dan the Card Man, if he's still here, because this comment's 13 minutes old, was asking if we go to every day of the National. It's a good one.
I see him. Yeah.
Stat Man here was saying he would love a Stevie Ray Vaughan card. I don't know if Stevie Ray Vaughan has any cards. Stevie Ray Vaughan is awesome. You know, I've been listening to a lot lately. You probably don't care, Dustin. Eric Clapton. For some reason, I've been on a Clapton vibe lately.
Wow.
Yeah.
You've been really getting in your feelings.
I don't know, man. How many Eric Clapton songs do you know? Ready, go. Best Clapton song. Put it in the comments, guys. If you're old enough or if you listen to Eric Clapton.
Yeah, I always do the National Thursday to Sunday. So flying in Thursday, because the big trade night is typically like Card Collector 2's trade night's Thursday evening, typically. So I want to get there before that, like 2 or 3. That starts at 6, and then Thursday night, Friday, Saturday, and then flying back on Sunday. That's usually the deal.
What time did I get there? What day did I get there this year when I met you at the Showboat? Is that Thursday?
Oh, you know what? I think we came in a day early. So I think I booked for Thursday, but then I booked on Wednesday night at Showboat just to come in a little bit early.
But you were there a day before me. I didn't come in until Thursday.
Oh, okay. Why did
I stayed Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and I stayed the day of Sunday because I was able to drive home. If I was going to fly, I would have missed Sunday. Because I would have flown out in the morning. So that's kind of the case with Chicago this year. But this is the first time that I'm going out on Wednesday. So I'll be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, which is probably going to be too long. But I don't want to just strictly do the card show this year. I want to go and see some architecture and some stuff around Chicago.
You're going to go into Chicago, but it's so far away.
I don't know. I just want to do a little something other than just go to the card show, man.
Yeah, but Chicago, I mean, yeah, for sure. But it's not close by.
Maybe a baseball game or something.
Yeah. Twitter has an excellent, reliable vintage card community. Steve, you're missing out on some excellent vintage card opportunities across the price and grade spectrum.
Okay, to be fair, I have a Twitter account. I just don't check it. I haven't checked it in months. But the other day, somebody did send me a link on, I think it was Instagram, and they told me, it might have been you, Robert. Someone sent me a link on Instagram to a Twitter where they have a day of vintage, where they have a forum, and one day of the week or whatever they do, everybody posts their vintage stuff. And I was going in there and looking at that. I have to look at my Instagram and see who sent me that.
Ryan McClanahan did an interesting video yesterday about Babe Dietrichson. She was a beast, worth the watch for sure. Yeah, check out Ryan McClanahan, History Through Cards _shortcut or something like that. But History Through Cards, find his channel because he does videos, basically historian for the sports card hobby. Really, really.
It was Trader Griffs. It was Trader Griffs.
Trader Griffs. Yeah, I know Trader Griffs.
Trader Griffs.
Steve Splenda is trying to buy KD cards before he gets hurt again. Taking shots. My national target card, either 1678 flawless patch out of KD in his Golden State. So what, and I guess question for Steve, what's kind of is it Golden State because he won titles with Golden State, or is it just because you like him in the Warriors gear? You know, do you also like the other stuff that he's got, net stuff, or Oklahoma City, or what? I'd be curious to know. Brock Purdy has that killer instinct similar to my guy Joe Burrow. Yeah, well, that's going to be the big question mark. Was it just a freak thing and he's legit, or is he just kind of got on a great team, just a good quarterback playing on a great team? I thought that he looked really, really good. I understand that he was on a great team, but just the way he ran the offense, I thought was pretty impressive. I don't know who you're talking about, Jordan. Every day at the National. Okay. Yes, Dan. Sports cards in 2023. Plenty of risk. Descent is the reward. I think that you nailed it there, Chris. Talking about decent and descent earlier. The Nuggets or the Suns. It's going to be a bloodbath in the West, just like it's going to be a bloodbath in the AFC. 29 days to the draft. Actually looking forward to it. The Saints miraculously have picks. Thank you, Sean Payton. Hope all is well there in Denver. Sacramento Kings. Charles is rolling solo. Clubs, drinks, nationals all day. If you're looking for a good time, find Charles out at the National.
I was like, there was one night I wanted to go to the trade night on the Clarion Bridge or whatever it is at, where all the pop-up trade nights were happening. I was like, man, I don't want to catch a cab and go all the way over to the boardwalk by myself with my cards. I'm looking for anybody to go. And I'm like, Fuchs, where the fuck is Fuchs at? Where the Fuchs is Fuchs? And I'm like, dude, come on, trade night. Where you at? Come on. And he's just like, I don't know. I never even heard back from him, man. Next day, woke up, he was all hungover shit. I'm like, I had to roll solo the trade night last night.
Yeah, the National too is fun because, well, and I can't speak for everybody. I'm sure a lot of people go there and just, they're just kind of doing their thing. I like to just grab you can grab beers at the show and just have just go around. It's a good time. I mean, who should not be able to go back to back, in my opinion. I know he's dangerous out there. Watch yourself. Now, Charles is a really good time. Good dude. Opening day is tomorrow. I'm not a baseball guy. Steve, you're an Orioles fan, so you're basically also not a baseball guy. I'd be so excited if I wasn't an Oakland A's fan. Jordan's coming in. Yeah, it's rough, but I'm loyal. Jordan said, sounds like my marriage, Rick. Fair enough. Guys, stay strong out there, brothers. Went to my first game opening day, 1979. Wow. That's awesome. I think new floors have been set, I think is what Diversified Collectibles is getting at. 58 Tops, also a low produced set. Steve, if you want to go hunting for 58 Tops.
That's 58 Tops is Jim Brown.
Yeah, I thought he was talking about baseball. I just assumed he was talking about baseball.
Oh, maybe, but I don't know what rookies are in that. In baseball, I'm just kind of chasing the rookies. It's not like I'm going full vintage or trying to complete runs or anything like that. I'm looking for rookies right now. But
paying up for high eye appeal vintage. I would agree, because especially when you get into lower grades, which, I mean, let's face it, like most of us are buying the lower grade stuff. You're buying like a 1 to a 5 if you're talking about some of these huge cards. So yeah, I mean, it's not easy to find stuff. I mean, it really depends on what you're after, what you focus on. But for me, it's centering and surface. So I mean, if the corners are rounded, dinged corners, I'm not worried about dinged corners. At least it's not trimmed. But the surface, man, there's vintage cards that just look absolutely horrendous. They might be centered, but they look brutal. Mm-hmm. But you know what? If you just want centered cards, then you're like, hey, I'm not worried about the surface. So
I don't want like bad resolution and like snow and things like that. But I don't mind surface creases. I don't want like big folds that look like big and nasty. But I don't mind small surface wrinkles / creases as long as they're not over the player's face. That's, for me, that's what I like. I mean, if they're like on the side or something like that, that's fine. But if they're going across the player's face, I don't like that.
And needs to stay the man for the T-Wolves. And eventually those guys will move on from Minnesota to a contender. I mean, like that's I feel like that's what happens with the Timberwolves. Hello from Canada. What's going on, Philly?
Hey, I see. I'm scrolling down. I'm seeing the Eric Clapton comments that I asked about a long time ago. A lot of people picking Layla. Now, Steve Splenda says Layla, the Derek and the Dominoes version, but he also has the slow MTV Unplugged version.
Oh, wow.
I like
that. Anytime I think of Unplugged, I think of Nirvana. Like Nirvana Unplugged was so good. Can't wait for Dustin's interview with Pepino, man. Going to be epic. It's actually the other way around. I'm going to be on Pepino's channel. We tried to do it last week, and he had weather or something going on, and we couldn't get online. Like it just wasn't working. He couldn't hear me, but then we're going to figure it out though. So I'm going to go on Pepino's channel, and I think John Mangini is going to join on as well. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. I think that'll probably end up being next week. This week's been nutty. Just been very, very busy, but I think we're going to be able to pull that off next week. Anyone heard from Brad? I already addressed it. Hobby Champs. Yeah, Brad is good. He's still hinging. He's still doing he's on a very strict diet of hinge. So yeah, he's doing fine. He's just not in cards. But yeah, he's doing okay other than that. Dan doesn't like how I go through. Look, maybe I operate this thing like a nursing home where I'm just kind of going through slowly, but I would rather do that than miss something. I'm trying to kind of catch all the stuff. So I might be a little bit behind, but the chat is always busy. So it's always hard to kind of keep up with all the stuff.
So I see a lot of wonderful tonight from Eric Clapton. I like the faster stuff like Forever Man, and it's in the way that you use it.
We're still talking about Eric Clapton. What the hell is wrong?
Yeah.
with you guys?
Brandon Ryan says Sunshine of Your Love. That's Cream. So that Eric Clapton is in Cream. But because you're like, where are you at, man? You're at 9:56. Okay, you're only 10 minutes behind, man.
Chris C just came directly at you with this, Steve. How do you feel about this? When are we going to get a clean hobby? I think he was trying to say like clean shaven. And so he's making a crack at your goatee there without influencers and clowns. That's harsh, Chris. Steve doesn't deserve that.
I got thick skin, man. I'm a casino manager.
Yeah.
You know, I get called so much stuff every night. People losing their money.
You sound like Will Ferrell in the early 2000s on SNL.
People losing their money.
I drive a Dodge Stratus. I drive a Dodge Stratus. If you know the skit, you know what I'm talking about. Look up, if you don't know what I'm talking about, look up Will Ferrell, SNL, I drive a Dodge Stratus. Classic stuff. I think with this, you know what I think would help for us, Steve, is if we just got our own cards, then it would be like we've made it. We can retire. Is right when we get these like influencer cards, I think that we're going to be card. I want on card. I want somebody to do the on-card auto. I literally want someone to be like, who the hell is this? Like, this is my pull. This is what I got. This idiot. That's what I want. And then I want that on video so I can share that with my family. And then we'll retire. All right. I don't think vintage is rare anywhere. Jordan finding, yeah, vintage is not rare, but high-grade vintage is tough. And then I think with vintage too, the real kind of chase is just finding good looking low grade vintage, because you have a lot of low grade vintage out there.
That's what's fun. What was fun.
The hunt is finding good looking low grade vintage, because there's a lot of low grade vintage, just they're not all created equally.
It's all graded low for a reason, which means all of them have something wrong with it. So you got to find the one that doesn't have that has the strength that you're looking for as an individual. Exactly. And that can be tough, because the couple of mazes that I looked at and also compared at online, they all looked completely different from one another. They were all graded like 1.5s, and they all looked absolutely different.
All right. Layla's a popular song, apparently. I'm only 11 minutes behind now.
You were 10 minutes behind.
I'm skipping past all. There's 47 Layla comments.
Layla.
Yeah, but Dakota is usually always drunk when he's doing his stream, so he can just rattle the stuff off. Yeah, but you're right. I'm not Dakota. I'm not. The performance he did at the George Harrison benefit concert was amazing.
Didn't he steal George Harrison's wife?
That sounds like drama. That's not content.
Didn't he sing the Wonderful Tonight song about her? Wasn't the one You Look Wonderful Tonight? Wasn't that kind of like about her? Like they were still like, it was when George Harrison was like still alive. You know, those rock stars they just do whatever.
They're rock stars for a reason. Do you collect vinyl, Steve? From Rick.
I don't collect it. I have some, and I saw that comment long before you did, so I already picked these albums up. How about that? I'm waiting for it, baby.
Nice.
My daughter just grabbed these for me because there's a vintage record store. Like, you know, I live near the beach, and there's multiple vintage record stores down there, and there's also one actually just right in town here where I live. And she just went in there and grabbed like this Who, because she knows I like the Who. It's not like it's not a collectible or anything, but it's just cool. And this Aerosmith live one, and they're just sitting here on my shelf, kind of like a decoration here on the bottom. But I don't collect them. I don't have any like high grade or any special ones that I wouldn't even know what to look for. I would just look for the bands that I like and just be cool to have the old album of them just for a I want to have it for me type standpoint, not necessarily for. So I guess that would be one way of collecting it, but not collecting it as in buying and selling it and going after really rare things, because I wouldn't even know where to begin.
Is Luka a buy if the Mavericks completely flounder and his prices crater? Is there a world where you're looking at Luka cards?
Me?
Yeah, I mean, I guess in general, you or the chat. I mean, I'm just kind of curious.
With me, it's like I have certain things that I'm really focused on, but I will buy like kind of anything for the right price if it makes sense.
Price point.
So it's like, I want this and I want this, and this is what I'm kind of like prospecting on. These are the 3 quarterbacks I'm prospecting on, but that quarterback at that price, I'll go ahead and buy that. What the hell? You know what I mean? It's kind of like right now. So Luka with me, he's still expensive. He's a great modern day player. Where does his legacy end, though? That's the question. Lots of really good players come and they go, and they're good during their 15-year career, and they're 10, 12-time All-Stars, and they go into the Hall of Fame, and then people never talk about him again. Is he going to be somebody? Is he going to be somebody that's talked about that transcends generations?
Right.
Or is he just a good player that's playing in the era, between 2018 and 2030? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where this conversation in 2030 is kind of the time when we're actually going to know.
So we'll know in 7 years. So bookmark this. We'll come back to it. Cody, what's going on, brother? Good to see you.
I mean, you have other young guys winning titles, right? Giannis got a title, and Steph Curry is still kind of like the man in the league until he's gone, right? LeBron is still there. Eventually, these guys are going to be gone. So who is going to be the next guy? Lots of guys playing great, but what's Tatum going to do?
Cody, the most underrated content creators on we're the Frank Robinson of content creators, according to Cody. Just underrated. We're underrated.
I'll take that.
The Burger King of chat readers. Good food, but I've been in line for 30 minutes. That's fair, Bob. That's fair. Hey, at least I'm not announcing myself as the best.
But you get it your way, Bob. You get it your way here.
That's right. You know what, though? I'm trying to hit all of them, though. I could just skip over like 40 comments. But look,
I need to go out and try to find one of those big Burger King man masks now, like one of those big head things to put on. Have the little Burger King man hands.
Don't listen to the haters, King. I love it. All right, I'm skipping.
I don't think Chrissy was hating on us. I think Dustin just flipped it into he was hating on my goatee.
Yeah.
I think Chrissy.
Oh yeah. No, I totally flipped that around. I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You flipped it, flipping Dustin.
Flipping. I'm getting divorced. Divorced.
Shit, I hate when that happens.
Steve is the Rodney Dangerfield of casino hosts. Actually, I would love to see you just running the hell out of that casino, Steve. Can I be like fly on the wall, just come in and I'll just play like blackjack or something and just hang out.
Man, the benefit about the casino is pretty laid back. I mean, I do work the shift where if things are going to get out of hand, they get out of hand on my shift just because it's the overnight. Everybody's drinking. Like day shift is very laid back and mellow. Lots of regulars. Everybody kind of knows the players. Nobody's drunk and acting stupid. And everybody's like kind of older and like retired, right? But at nighttime, when everybody gets off work and they come out drinking and they want to gamble, then they're losing money and they're drunk. And then, it can get crazy sometimes. But
I only want Luka cards that his mom signs. I got one back here.
Lulu.
Yeah. But according to Sports Card Radio, I watched their video from like 3 years ago, and they had the different signatures of Luka. And based on that video, I think I've got a real one on the jersey. Dallas lost again. They're in 11th place. Not good. Not good. Yeah, Ohtani will be talked about in 15 years. Pending it. Well, he's just got to stay healthy. That's the main thing. Can he just keep it up? Yeah, that's the big thing. Or do you think he's done enough to where he's still going to be talked about?
Ohtani? Um,
I'll tell you who he's never going to be. This badass,
I mean,
Greg Maddux.
he's sort of anomaly, right? Is that the right word? Because he's playing in a day of where you have hitters, you have pitchers, you have designated hitters, you have people that play the field. I mean, and then you have a guy here that can play the field, that can pitch, and that can hit.
It's only because they didn't let Maddux hit. That guy would have been
Oh,
batting
wasn't
300.
he in the National League?
Still waiting for the floor on Luka. Might not come anytime soon. I guess so. And the other question is just about, how long are you holding Luka stuff? Here's the thing. If Luka bottoms out this offseason, like maybe they don't make the playoffs, he's like, I don't even know if I want to play basketball anymore. His stuff just absolutely tanks. Is it more of like a short-term play? I'm not necessarily saying buying Luka to like hold for 20 years, but is it something where you kind of can snap it up and then maybe like preseason you sell some of it or whatever? I just think it would be interesting. Maybe like more of a short-term play, like a couple of years.
And I guess it all depends on what price point you're talking. But I feel like
Price
somebody
point,
like
yes.
Luca, because he's a good player, because he has the Europe thing going also, so he's got multiple markets, and being in Dallas, let's be real, that's a market that people buy cards in.
Right.
There's you can say if he hits this price, I like him, but more than likely, a super safe price is never going to be established because people, buyers, collectors, fans, and the market in general is not going to let him get below a certain point. It just won't happen. That's why we're sitting here discussing this. Oh, if he hits this much money, I'm in, right? If people are in at a certain price, it'll never fall below that. And it'll continue to always push up a little bit.
He does have the excitement level, though. Think about even like when AD went from like the Pelicans to the Lakers. Now, if I think back, like I feel like Luka has more juice behind him as far as excitement and hype than like an Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis, awesome player, obviously injured all the time, but if Luka went to the Lakers or if Luka, I saw someone say something about the Sixers to join Embiid or something, like there would be so much excitement around a deal like that. Maybe he plays in Dallas forever, or maybe he moves around. KD's played for a few different teams. He's one of the greats. I just feel like, and again, we're talking about like short term. If he makes a move and there's excitement around that move, then those could be exit points potentially. If it was like a short term play, if the prices really crater, if Luka getting Kyrie to show up to Chandler's entered Tupac at Zion's possible build. Yeah, he's not having fun anymore. He's not having fun anymore. Ohtani would be awesome as a closer. Maddux, absolutely. 2 or 3 more years of production, he will get in the Hall of Fame. Do you feel like too many people get in the Hall of Fame? Has the Hall of Fame become a little bit diluted? Just as far as, I'm not even talking about, baseball would be one, but basketball too. I've heard people say like everybody gets into the Basketball Hall of Fame, which I don't track it. I don't have stats behind that, but I guess is that like a huge marker, Like Drew Brees is going to go in the Hall of Fame, or his price is going to, triple because he goes in the Hall of Fame? No, probably not. If Luka retired, Shine will not be a happy camper.
So you
True.
say Greg Maddux 3 times, and a Chicago Cubs fan will pop up. It's like Beetlejuice.
Oh, Beetlejuice. There's Raul. Raul,
Maddux.
I've got more Greg Maddux autographs coming.
I have the handbook for the recently deceased. Speaking of Beetlejuice.
Oh man, such a classic movie. My God, I might go watch that.
So how convenient it was to have that laying there. Now he says they'll treat him like Koufax because Koufax had 5 dominant years, but Luka has not had 5 dominant years. He's had 5 good basketball statistical years.
No, I think he's talking about Ohtani.
Oh, okay, yeah. Different. Well, you got to put a championship in there somewhere. The Angels need to do something. They're just not a very good team. Statistically, I guess in baseball, if there is a sport where statistics would maybe outweigh wins, it would be baseball. But in football and basketball, it's kind of like wins outweigh statistics. So yeah,
Oh,
maybe.
this is Brad, Cardboard Cornerstone. He had a little, yeah, I mean, he's had a little bit of a makeover, but this is Brad. Yeah, he's just, hey, look, times change. You know, people change. What's going on, Rob? Good to see you.
What's up?
Steve's like, what's up?
So,
Otani has so much going for him. It'd be interesting to stay if he stays with the Angels. Yeah, Mike Trout and Otani are just like the best players to never win anything. So yeah, we'll have to see. Hello, therapist. Can you cure me from Top Update 2022? Never mind. I don't want the cure. Fair enough. Appreciate that, Michael.
yeah, I
that's
don't know. That was a little overrated, if you ask
Steve,
me.
He's been waiting for this. Go ahead. Fire it out.
Just
Fire
kidding.
it up.
Let me get all my feelings out at once. It's gonna be over.
This is
All
where
right,
you do
I'm
your
good.
wrestling shtick. This is where you're supposed to do like that heel wrestling.
Hey man, I don't have my lucha mask.
Rob, great basketball card. So Rob's taking over the whole damn chat. The top 1% of players.
Somebody needs to.
Yeah. Yeah, someone, Rob, you want to come on and
I guess it's me. Dustin's caught in the Matrix.
Oh, am I
okay, you're back. You're back.
Damn thing. Now so what it is all these kids here, they've got phones and laptops and all that all over the Wi-Fi. Unbelievable. Baseball Hall of Fame, by far the toughest to get into, especially if you do PEDs. My gosh. Cubs fan. Yeah, Mark Grace over, I don't know. Well, no. I mean, I like Mark Grace, but come on. Greg Maddux is undeniably, I mean, the guy looks like he could be your next door neighbor. He looks like the ultimate average Joe and was completely dominant for 20 years.
He wore like reading glasses.
Yeah, he looked like he was a librarian.
Like math teacher.
He looked like a librarian playing Major League Baseball.
I think it's awesome though.
Oh, you're in a world where there's like Roger Clemens and Randy Johnson throwing like 110-mile-an-hour fastballs. And then you've got Greg Maddux that throws like an 89-mile-an-hour slider. Yeah, just unbelievable. Everyone always talks about Harold Baines in the Hall of Fame. Every single time there's Hall of Fame, there's fights over the Hall of Fame. It's always Harold Baines. Oh, here comes Raul. You are pumping Maddux. I'm trying to help you, man. You're the Cubs fan. I'm just trying to help you out. Full disclosure, I own 2 Greg Maddux cards. I've got that one, and I've got another one coming back from SGC. Luka and Dallas have gotten worse with Kyrie. I think Luka likes being his own, but can he win a title on his own in like today's world where you need to have 3 superstars to win? That's going to be tricky.
Yeah, but that wasn't going to work. You want Luka on the ball, right? That's his strength. He's a triple-double machine. You want Luka on the ball, but so what does that leave Kyrie? You put Kyrie on the ball, now what? Who are you running your offense through? 2 ball-dominant players that excel off being on the ball.
Yeah.
You got to take one of them off of it, which means now they're not playing to their strength. It just didn't make sense.
Luka needs Shaq in the paint. I meant Otani. Okay. Tatum is already in the Hall of Fame. You think he's going to be? Tatum needs to win a title. I think Steve would agree. He's a Boston fan. He's a Celtics fan.
He didn't win one, did he? Like when he was a rookie or something. He wasn't. Did they win one?
Jason Tatum?
Yeah, I'm wrong.
No. He hasn't won one yet. Who's going to the Mets or the Dodgers? We're talking about Otani or Luka Doncic. He's going to go play baseball. He's so tired of the NBA.
Who? Luka?
Luka's going to the Mets or the Dodgers. He's over the NBA. It sucks.
That ain't happening. The Mets or the Dodgers. No.
The PED PC to pay off. Yeah, if I'm pumping anything, it's Barry Bonds. I don't have any Roger Clemens cards yet, but I'm working on that. Who are some of the other guys? I've got a couple of McGuires, but who else? Who else is in that bucket?
The PED guys?
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank. I know there's a few big ones I'm just missing, but the big one for me is Barry Bonds. He's a home run king. He was a Hall of Famer before he ever touched
Bonds, Clemens, McGuire, Sosa.
Yes, not really.
Rafael Palmeiro.
Rafael Palmeiro. He did not do it. He did not do it. Remember how adamant he was?
There was one. I got a question. Is Mike Piazza in the Hall of Fame, or was?
I thought he was.
Ivan Rodriguez kind of got lumped in there, right? Pudge Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Juan Gonzalez. If they have a 1990 Upper Deck rookie card, they're pretty much in there.
The Wolfpack, Oz and Tony, what's going on?
Did Jeff Bagwell dodge the PED bullet?
I don't know, but it's
because I always tease Dakota.
You know who I miss is Lenny Dykstra. That's a guy that I miss.
Oh, nails.
Dustin's strategy to neutralize Steve is to have a dozen shows. We'll have a show every night of the week. You know what? When there's 1,000 content creators that are now going live every night, you know how you have to combat that? Just with more content. We just need more. That's how we beat this thing. Even I started out when nobody was doing anything. I shouldn't say nobody. There was definitely people doing anything, but there's way, way more now. Way more.
That's okay. Gives me something to do.
We're going live 7 nights a week. Maddox has 355 wins. Check Maddox's stats. The guy is insane. He's absolutely insane. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Nolan Ryan was the only one that's better. I'm not a baseball expert, so I will go like, yeah, and all the baseball people will be like, shut up, you don't know what you're talking about. And they're mostly right. A 16-inch strike zone.
Damn.
Them are fighting words. Now, Greg Maddox is my favorite. Just the attitude behind that guy. Love it. Super Glow, or what is this? Any thoughts on collecting Super Glow or the bar trading cards? I don't know what that is.
I think I've heard of the bar. I don't know what Super Glow is.
Mm-mm.
I think I've heard of the bar, and I really didn't know what it was. I kind of was searching auto cards of a certain player, and something popped up. It was like the bar.
Are you just making stuff up, Steve?
No, I could be. I could be wrong though. For some reason, though, that sticks in my head because I didn't know what it was when I saw it.
Here's some clarification. Barb mem cards sound good in theory, but the execution just isn't what I'd like. So they're memorabilia cards.
Mm-hmm.
Charles coming in hot against Raul. Raul is, yeah, exactly. Raul's too busy trying to move silver and Funko Pops. Doesn't have time for this. He doesn't have time for this. He's trying to move these Funko Pops. Kid who grew up in the 90s, Mark Grace. I remember getting Mark Grace in like 89 Don Russ packs and just putting that aside. Like that's a good player. Yeah, Mark Grace was awesome back in the day.
My favorite Cub of all time. I know I had friends that really liked Mark Grace.
You know, it was a badass card I saw.
Andre Dawson.
Yeah, no, yeah, I saw a triple auto that was Mark Grace, Andre Dawson, and Greg Maddox. I was a
Ryan Sandberg. I like Ryan Sandberg.
Or maybe it was Ryan Sandberg and not one of those three. Yeah, anyway, it was a triple auto of like 3 out of those 4 guys. It was awesome. A bad PR move. Fair enough, Cody.
Sean Dunston.
All these guys are a bad PR move away. John Morant. Just one little slip up. Yeah, Nolan Ryan. Holler if you see. I'm 5 minutes behind on the comments, so let me know if you see. My wife and I watched. So they're talking about the Miz. The Miz reality show is actually hilarious. The one with his wife and his family and stuff. That one's really good. So if you're trying to figure out if I want to watch like the Miz, I forgot what their reality show is. The Miz or the Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Go with the Miz one. It's good.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't the Miz on like another reality? He was on like The Real World or something like 20 years ago.
He was on The Real World before he was a wrestler.
Yeah.
But when he was on The Real World, people asked him like what he wanted to be. And he like was like, someday I'd like to be a wrestler. And he actually called himself the Miz on then.
Wow.
And would cut promos and stuff. But just as a fan. And then he ended up on like Tough Enough and things like that. Ended up coming in there.
Mariano Rivera would be another guy I would love. I like dominant pitchers from that era, kind of like from that 90s era. Love that stuff. Yep. Palmeiro, Clemens, look at Roger Clemens' stats. Stack that up against anybody.
Yeah, I was a huge Clemens fan. I wasn't necessarily a Bonds fan. I liked Clemens a lot. I see Fuchs talking about Sheffield. I actually liked Sheffield.
Yeah, Gary Sheffield.
Like, when you play wiffle ball in the backyard and you're going to hit some bombs with the
Yeah.
wiffle ball, you like pick some guys and you try to bat like them.
Yeah.
Did anybody ever do this? Is this just me and my friends and my brother, or do you actually get up
I
there
used to play
and
pickup
you'd be like, I'm
basketball.
going to.
I shoot baskets. I'd like pretend I was Larry Bird or pretend I'm Michael Jordan or Barkley or whatever.
Oh yeah, I would do that. But I mean, like when you're batting, like if you know you're the player that you're actually imitating, if you know their batting stance, you get up there and you try to bat like them. Sheffield was always like waiting to bat back and forth every time. So you would get up there and you'd be like, I'm Gary Sheffield, and you have the wiffle ball bat, and you'd be like, and then they throw you one and you pop it straight up into the air.
Bagwell, no.
I remember Mickey. You remember a player named Mickey Tettleton? He was on the Orioles for a while in Detroit.
And he helped Detroit Detroit Tigers. Yeah.
He was on the Tigers and then he went to Baltimore and he like held the bat real funny like this.
I feel like did they have the names in like RBI Baseball for the Nintendo? I feel like that was one of the guys. Like maybe. When you were playing with Detroit, it was like Cecil Fielder and that guy.
It's funny because one of my friends was such a huge Mickey Tettleton fan that everything we did, he was Mickey Tettleton. We would be racing bikes down the street really fast, and he'd be like, Tettleton. And I'm like,
Tettleton.
Like, Tettleton's not a racer.
Juan Gonzalez was a beast back in the day, too. I remember his cards were popular. I remember that. I remember those days, Charles.
Yeah, Juan Gonzalez was.
Gary Sheffield's. All right, I think we're 90 minutes in. It's about time to wrap up.
You always try to go all early.
Old man Dustin, 90 minutes in, and we got to shut this thing down. It's 10:30 Eastern, man. All right.
Sports Card Heroes Collector says, Steve, who would you say is your YouTube influencer for vintage baseball cards for info? I haven't found one yet. The only person I've talked to Mike. There's some guy, I talked to Bobbles and Ball Cards. He's one of the first people I talked to a while back when I started looking for Mickey Mantle, but I've talked to Mike because we had him on. Ryan from Breakout Cards, of course. Your typical run-of-the-mills guys that you see, but I don't. And then I have viewers that will message me and say, "Hey, Steve, check this out." So, but if there's anybody you could recommend for me, that would be cool.
For sure. For sure. All right, I think I'm going to wrap it. Let's wrap it, Steve. Let's wrap it
up. Wrap it up. I'll take it. Who was that? Fabulous Thunderbirds?
I have no idea. All right, guys. Hey, thanks for joining us for another episode of Off Centered. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Actually, you know what? We might be back sooner than that. Like we said, we got to go 7 nights a week now. It's got to be like the news 24 hours a day. We just go live. We just got to make it happen.
Dustin will be back with somebody else before he's back with me, and then he'll be back with me.
Kelly Ripa
sometime after
that. I'll have 7 different hosts this week, guys. All right. Thanks, everybody. We will talk to you later.
See you guys.
See ya.